Welcome back to Sawyer Farm. I'm Jacob. Today's video we're going to give you a little bit of a kind of a rabbit update, just kind of things that have been going on, some changes that we've done to our rabbitry, and so we'll just pretty much get into it. So right now our rabbits, if y'all have been watching us you know, for a while, we got a decent sized rabbitry, not huge, but it's a good size for us. And they're actually, we had to move them, and they're actually right now behind our house. This is not the ideal place that we want them, but and we'll take you over to the spot that we originally had them, that y'all probably know them where they're at, over by the shop. And the problem we had was these cages, as you kind of see them, we have them up on cinder blocks and stuff, and we got a lot of rain and they actually started to kind of fall over, and we needed to move them quickly. And so that's kind of why they're over here right now. And also we got a project that we're going to talk about here in a second, but that's kind of why we have them moved over here. And another thing that we did change, that we added, and we're kind of starting to really like it, is down here we have some weed fabric. It's just that regular weed fabric that you stick on your garden, and it lets the water through, but it keeps the weeds out. One thing we did was we put that down because the thing that we were seeing was when you have the manure on the kind of dirt, sometimes if you're not like picking it up every single day, or if it rains, that manure can kind of get mixed in with the dirt, and so you don't know what's manure, what's dirt. And so we're kind of having a little bit of trouble with that. And so putting this thing down makes it to where we know where the bottom is. You know, once we start scooping the poop out, we know, you know, once you hit that, you know, that's it. The other thing is a lot of y'all may be thinking, well, why don't you just use trays? You know, trays, it collects everything, you pull them out, and then you dump them in. We don't really like to use trays because the thing is with the urine, when you have it like a plastic, or even if down below, you know, we had some other stuff that's plastic, that urine builds up, and that's where you get a lot of your smell from, is the urine. When you have them just go on the ground, the urine just goes into the ground, and so you don't get really much of a smell at all. The only time we really maybe start to smell something is if it rains, the manure kind of gets wet a little bit. So that's the only time you really will smell anything, and it's not really even that much. So that's why we don't want to put plastic or anything down, because of the smell, and that's why we don't use trays for that. Now this is like I can't remember the exact material, it's like a polypropylene or whatever it is, but it's porous, so it lets the liquid go through into the ground. So the urine will go through the ground. Now sometimes it can build up a little bit, but once we ever clean it off, we just kind of spray it, and it works perfectly fine. So that's why we kind of went with this, is it does let the urine go through, and so we're not getting that smell of everything, and we can kind of decipher the manure and the dirt. We're really liking this setup. We kind of tested it out over here because we had to move them, and when we move them back over to the other spot, we're gonna continue this type of setup, and we'll probably make it a little bit wider than we are right now. But the rabbits are doing pretty good. We've been breeding, having a little bit of trouble sometimes with the breeding. I don't know if y'all are having that issue either. We're trying to figure some stuff out. We're having some you know, does, they are kidding out, and some of them, we breed them, they look good, they have the amount of, you know, dismounts that we like, everything, but they just kind of don't have their babies. And I don't know if any of y'all are experiencing that, if it's just something that's going on. I don't know, leave down in the comments. We've been trying to do some things. We're trying to, you know, get some new breeders, and, you know, trying to build up some, you know, new bucks. Some of our does were getting a little bit older, so that might be a little bit of an issue, but that's kind of really the only things kind of been going on that we've been seeing. Everything else been doing pretty good. We are, I think, gonna cut back a little bit on the amount of does we have. We're kind of trying to make it to where all the cages we have, and if we want to bring up new breeders, that's the thing that we've find out, is we have enough cages for the does, but if we're wanting to like bring up new ones, it can kind of get a little complicated in doing that. So this is pretty much the setup that we got right now, and we'll go over and where they originally were and talk about a new project that we're going to be doing hopefully pretty soon. We just got to work some other kinks out, but we'll go over there and talk about that. Alright, so we are over here where the rabbits usually were. This is where we normally kept them. And this is just right on the side of our shop. Now, so like I was saying before, the reason why they're over there is because during the summertime, I believe it was, we got a bunch of rain. It was like, I think a week long or something, just a lot of rain at one time. And it's kind of muddy back here, and so when that rain comes in, I mean, it really gets it muddy. And what happened was, is the cinder blocks we have them on, it just got so muddy underneath that they actually started to fall over. Now the cages didn't completely fall over, but they were very close in doing that. They started leaning, and so we knew that we just needed to move them immediately because they were gonna fall over if we didn't do something. And another thing is we were gonna be putting them over there anyways, because of this project. I've been waiting. As y'all know, lumber prices then, you know, a while back were really expensive. They kind of got a little bit cheaper, and so we bought the materials that we need. And so this is kind of the project that we're doing. As you can tell right here, I've been trying to do a little bit of grade work because this is kind of like a hill. I'm trying to flatten it out to where we're going to put a lean-to off of this. I'm thinking about maybe 16 feet wide is what it is. And so I'm trying to make this as level as we can. And so if you can kind of picture this, up here we're going to put the lean-to off, and then back over here, once I get this kind of flattened out more, I think we'll have about 5 or so cedar poles, and we're going to use just cedar trees. I'm going to kind of draw knife them and stick them in there, and I think they'll look pretty cool, and they're free. Just the time of me doing it, so that's another reason why we're doing it, is because we have it. And so the main idea is once we have the lean-to over, those cages over there won't need that tin over the top. That was just temporary, and we're going to actually be hanging them from the rafters. So they'll be hanging up here just from some wire, and that'll make it to where we can move them however we like, to where we can get after them, and it'll be easier cleaning the manure out from underneath. And we'll be putting down that weed fabric on both sides. We'll have it this full length and maybe have some over here. So that's kind of our idea. Now, one thing I do want to ask anyone that's watching this, if they're kind of have a construction background or anything. I don't, so this is why I'm kind of asking. This is one thing I've been kind of racking my brain on, is attaching a header up here, because this is 10 and I'm going to be putting a 2x8 up here. What's the best way to attach it? Because on the inside there is a few 2x4s, but they're not like going the whole length, and so I don't know what the proper way of attaching the header in there. Maybe if y'all have knowledge of that and have done it before, and if you could just put it in the comments and give me some ideas. The only thing I was kind of thinking was poking some holes in there, maybe running some lag bolts in there, putting maybe a backing on the inside of the tin, and then putting those lag bolts. That's kind of what I was thinking, but I don't know if that's a proper way of doing it. So if you have knowledge of that, please leave it down there and help me out so I can stop racking my brain on how we're going to do this. But that's kind of the system that we're really going towards, and hopefully we can get on this somewhat soon. I don't know exactly when, but this is a project that you'll probably see later down the line. I'm hoping to have it done before spring, but we'll just kind of see how the winter is, and or we may get into it in spring, so we'll just have to kind of see. But another thing, I know we've been getting a lot of questions on our, we call it like our rabbit fertilizer sled. A lot of people have been asking how you liking that, kind of wanting an update, and so I thought this would be the best video to update y'all with that. So we're going to go over there and we'll just talk about that a little bit. All right, so we're out here with we call it like just a rabbit fertilizer sled is what we, I guess, have started to kind of call it. But so y'all have been asking, what's our thoughts? We've had this for, oh gosh, 7 months or so, I believe. I'll say I like it, but I have learned some certain things. If y'all are wanting to build one, we have that build video. The only thing I'll say that probably the biggest factor is it's heavy. And I thought it was going to be heavy, but I thought it was going to be light enough to where I could pull it. My main idea was to be able to pull this by hand, or have a smaller woman be able to pull it. And it just didn't turn out that way. I have a tendency of building things just really strong, and I don't consider a lot of the weight with that. So I will say the weight is a little bit of an issue. Now we can pull it with our four-wheeler. Now this is the other thing. I had some chains on here, but they were smaller chains, and when I tried pulling them, it actually broke the chain because it was smaller. And I'm trying to figure out the right distribution of the weight and everything, so one side's not going and the other is. So that's one thing I'm trying to figure out a little bit. So the other thing that when I originally was thinking of it is moving this thing kind of almost daily, or maybe just a few days, moving it across the garden. And due to the weight, and not really right now pulling it with the four-wheeler, it's just a little bit of a, I won't say a pain, but I got to pick up one side, move it over, pick the other side up, and it's heavy enough to where you really don't feel like doing that every day or multiple times a day. So that's one thing is I don't move it as much as I originally planned, just due to the weight. Now we're still trying to figure things out on how to move it a lot more efficient, but just as of right now, this is kind of what we have been seeing with this particular one that I built. Like I said, the main thing is the weight, and I don't move it as much as I previously planned. But I do really like the concept of everything, just because the manure just goes on the ground, and we do move it, and so it does get the manure around. So this whole entire time, these rabbits have been fertilizing this garden, and rabbits one rabbit can almost produce a pound of manure a day. So you can kind of do your calculations on that when we have 6 of these. So those are kind of the main things that I've seen with this setup, is just kind of the weight and the movability of it. If I were to say go back, or if someone's watching this video and is thinking like, I want to build that, I would honestly just probably build it smaller. You're not going to get maybe as many rabbits on here, but you're going to be able to move it around a lot more, and it's just going to be a lot more pleasant to move. Like if I was to look at, say, this one right now, I would at least probably maybe four holes. You'd have 4 rabbits. You could probably go 3. I really learned with this one, you just want to make it a little bit smaller. You may not get the amount of manure, but I mean, if you're moving them around, like I said, each rabbit produces almost a pound a day. So that could give you a good calculation on, and that's the other thing too, depending on your size garden. This is a little bit bigger garden, but if you're moving it around, it's pretty good to go. So keep that in mind whenever you're building yours. Just size, maybe you don't have to use 2x4s. That's what I used, because I just wanted this thing to be, pretty beefy. Because if it ever did flip or stuff, I don't want things just to break. And so that's one reason why I kind of did what I did. But that's kind of the update on this. I do enjoy it. I'm glad I built it. I really like the concept and the idea, but just I think I just built it maybe a little bit too big for what I was originally thinking. But guys, I think that's going to wrap up today's video. That's pretty much a good update on what's going on with the rabbits. Just, been moved around, kind of new projects. We're always trying to do better with everything we're doing, a better system. We got some other rabbit stuff to, videos that we'll have later down the line that could probably help you out a lot. So just stay tuned for that. I'm pretty sure we got a playlist of all kind of rabbit videos. If you are new to our channel or this is first time watching, you can go hit back and you can see how I built these cages, just the cages, because this actually moves out. So if you like the cages, go check those out. But guys, just leave comments down there to help me out with the header situation that I have. And if you got any other advice or if you got questions, leave them down in the comments. Subscribe to our channel, that really helps us out, and you hit that like button. But guys, as always, y'all take care and God bless.